Major League Baseball, they not like us. Because us, being Rays fans, we may have had the best managers in the last 20 years in all of Major League Baseball. Now, I know Keith is going to disagree because he absolutely hates Kevin Cash. But when you look at what Joe Maddon did and meant to this franchise, and I believe was integral in turning around this franchise, and then what Kevin Cash has done since taking over, and I know you might be surprised to hear me say that because I've been critical of Kevin Cash when I think it's warranted, but the guy is a two-time manager of the year for a reason, right? When I'm critical of Kevin Cash, it doesn't mean I think he's a bum manager. Anything but. And when you think about it, we wanted to ask the question, has anybody had better managers over the last 20 years than the Tampa Bay Rays? And I think there's one team for me that sticks out as having a pretty good argument, Aaron, and that's the San Francisco Giants. Now, Bob Melvin's doing an okay job now, but obviously when you have Bruce Bochy, as long as he was there, right? And Bruce Bochy, by the way, won 3 World Series between 2007 and 2019 for the San Francisco Giants. So that, to me, it's very difficult to argue against a guy who has won 3 World Series. But on top of that, which I was just saying, Aaron, I was shocked by.
Yeah, and
Gabe,
just want to make a correction. Tony Vitello, who was the Tennessee Volunteers baseball coach, he's the manager of the Giants now.
Oh, that's right. He took over for Bob
Which
Melvin.
I thought was very interesting because that's a tough jump from college baseball to professional baseball. That's a very tough jump. I thought
and they're
that
having
was
a tough time.
And I thought that was going to be a tough go for him to begin. And there's a lot of criticism there for him and the Giants right now. So over the last couple of years, they had the Bruce Bochy run, but if you look at the win percentage and you look at what's happening now, not a lot of success. In fact, with coaches recently, a little chaos with managers.
For sure, the last few years, but also, and I mentioned this to you during the break, surprisingly, Gabe Kapler is part of the conversation because he led the team to a franchise record 107 wins in 2021 after Bruce Bochy. So you're right. Since then, they've been very up and down.
And that's why you look at the last 20 years and you look at some of the best teams in baseball over the last 20 years. They're names and teams you should expect. Why? Because they spend a ton of money. The Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox, even the Red Sox with what they've been doing lately, they've had a ton of success over the last 10 years. The Cardinals have had a lot of success over the last 10 years. The Rays come in at number 5. The Braves come in at number 6. The Braves had a long run with one manager who won a lot of games there. The Rays have done it with 2 managers, starting with Joe Maddon and now continuing with Kevin Cash, and that's why it's so successful. The Red Sox have had scandals, right? The Red Sox have been involved in a scandal. Aaron Boone, it seems like his job is on the line every single year because even though they've had success record-wise, they've spent so much money, they haven't been able to get over the hump and win in big games. Now, I know the Rays are in the similar boat, but the Rays have done it with so little, and that's what's so impressive about their run. The Dodgers have done it with so much, but they've needed multiple managers to get that done as well. The Rays have never had an issue with managers, right? Joe Maddon, when his time came, but Kevin Cash since then, no issues. Never have we talked about Kevin Cash, at least seriously, Kevin Cash being pushed out. Why? Because he's just so good at what he does with so little.
Yeah, no, he's done a good job, and I'll tell you, you talk about Aaron Boone and being on the firing block every year. We talked about it last week or the week before. We're both shocked that he hasn't been fired by now. Like, forget about him being in contention to be fired. I'm surprised he hasn't been fired. And I personally think he should have been fired. I don't care because I want to see the Yankees keep failing, and I don't think he's the guy. So I'd like to see them hold on to him because I don't think he's the guy.
Look at what the Blue Jays did last year and look at what they've done this year to start. Lack of success this year to start. Look at when the Orioles were starting to win and come up, and people were like, look at the Orioles and look at Brandon Hyde winning manager of the year. Brandon Hyde's now part of the Rays organization. He's no longer the manager there. So to the point of Kevin Cash and Joe Maddon, when Kevin Cash had success and wins manager of the year, he continues with his success. Other guys, it's not as sustainable. And that's what's so impressive over the run for the last 20 years, managerially, what the Rays have been able to do.
The question is, if Kevin Cash if this Rays team is somewhere else, is it a different conversation? Now, obviously, this year they're playing fantastic baseball, and if we're talking manager of the year at this point, like he's in the running, if not in the lead. But the last 2 years, would there be talk about an issue because it hasn't been good, right? The last couple of years have been bad for the Rays, and it's not just about the talent. They've underperformed on the field as well, and eventually that goes to the manager.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. They got to correct it and win big games, but for what they have and what they've been allowed to spend and what they put together, I mean, this offseason, people are like, I don't think they did enough. Steven Matz and Nick Martinez, I don't think they did enough. Well, look what they've been able to do. And that's not just Kevin Cash. That's Kyle Snyder. That's this entire coaching staff that's been able to do this for many years with this Rays organization. And pitching, it goes back as well. They've had great pitching coaches to go along with great managers. And that, to me, you tie those together, you've got a lot of success.
I wasn't as concerned about the pitching staff this year. I thought they had done enough or that they'd be fine in the pitching staff. It was the lineup that I saw that I was like, they're not going to produce enough runs. They're not going to be good enough offensively for this team to be competitive this year. And I've been very wrong about that.
But it's hard to make an argument that there's another team that could have a better run as far as managers and leadership than the Rays have had over 20 years. And once again, we're seeing it turn into success for a team that going into the season, nobody looked at this roster and said, the Rays, coming up to a quarter way into the season are going to be one of the best teams in all of baseball. Well, guess what? That's exactly where they're at right now.
Nobody's had the consistency of the Rays over the last 20 years, but I still think you can make an argument for teams that have won multiple World Series when we haven't won any, right? That's part of the discussion, and we haven't won any World Series here, which is something that we need to get.
Gotta win.
Get one.
Gotta win the big games. But you look at the Yankees, and they're not winning big games either. You look at the Red Sox; they're in. I don't even know what situation they're in right now. Purgatory? Like I don't know. They're not good. They're not good right now.
I think the Red Sox are working to get to purgatory. Like whatever level of hell is below purgatory or before purgatory, that's where they're at.
The last year they've been working at it.
They're like, I wish we were in purgatory.
They've had issues. Hey, I want to go back to a text. Somebody texted me. We were just talking about Chandler Simpson and the leadoff spot. I never said Chandler Simpson. I don't love Chandler Simpson in the leadoff spot.
Hate him in the leadoff spot.
Never said that. I said I don't mind where he is. The production is there. And honestly, if you look at it, batting first in the lineup this year, batting leadoff, we just talked about how good the Rays are batting leadoff. That's the second worst batting average for Chandler Simpson out of any position he's batted in this year. And he's batted in a lot of them. He's batted first, second, third, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth this year. And his worst average is when he batted third, where he only had 5 at-bats. His second best, he's batting .247 from the leadoff spot.
Which, by the way, that's 5 at-bats. You can't really take that into account for very much.
But from the leadoff spot,
he's had a lot of at bats from the leadoff spot. For that, you can lean into
247. He's hitting from the leadoff spot.
Yeah, I like when he gets on what it does to the pitcher with big bats behind him, and that's why I think it's important to have him at the top. But
batting 5th and 6th combined, he's hitting almost 400 with over 30 at bats.
That's pretty good.
There you go.
That's pretty good.
Like you don't have to have him in the leadoff spot to beat the production.